Os dejamos con Todd Tran, Chief Strategy Officer en Teads. Inteligencia artificial, de animales a dioses.
Bon dia, benvinguts a tothom. I'm very glad you understood me because I practiced that more than my whole presentation. So today I'm going to talk to you about AI, which is a term that has been used so much in the industry in the last 2 years that I'm actually quite sick of hearing the word AI. I actually asked my marketing team to not put AI in the title of the presentation, so they created Predictive Advertising. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. There has been a lot of presentations that I have seen about AI which are very inspiring. They talk about the future, they talk about all the things that are developing and that the world is going to change in the coming years. But what I want to talk about today is how we use AI today in digital advertising. And I want to give examples of how we use it, and I want to go in detail on how it works, and then I want to show you the results of what happens when we use AI. Because I think that too many people use the word and they're not able to describe what they do and what the results are. So this is what I want to share with you today. So, as many of you know, the growth of AI in advertising has been tremendous. There is an expected 257% increase in the use of AI in digital advertising. And it's going to be used in all different areas, as you probably know: personalized offers, media optimization, dynamic creative optimization. So it's being developed and used in many areas within digital advertising. Now, AI is really, in my opinion, perfect for digital advertising. Why? Because digital advertising has 3 components that are quite suited for AI. First is that there is a lot of data, more data than many other industries. To give you an example, if you were to look at the programmatic trading that happens with commodities like electricity, right? If you buy 1 unit of electricity and then you were to buy another unit of electricity, what's the difference between those 2 units? Almost no difference. But if you were to buy 1 advertising impression versus another advertising impression, there's massive differences. One could be female, one could be male, one could be a sports lover, one could be into fashion, et cetera, et cetera. So you have much more data that you can deal with, which is perfect for artificial intelligence. The second is that we spend way high amounts of money on media, probably more than any other industry. And when you spend that much money, then you would want, and that buying that many impressions, you want to have more automation and smarter automation. And the third is that our industry is hyper competitive. We are always trying to get 1 step ahead of someone else. And this is also where AI comes in, because it can give that advantage to companies that are able to leverage it versus other companies. But there's a problem today with AI, in my opinion, and that AI is the new black box. The 2 quotes here really describe it. There's the black box problem. If people don't know how AI comes up with its decisions, they don't trust it. The second here, interacting with something we don't understand can cause anxiety and make us feel like we're losing control. Again, too many people talking about it, not too many people explaining exactly what's going on. So let me start by offering sort of my kind of definition of AI, which I think is generally accepted in the industry, which is that it's machines that mimic cognitive functions of humans, such as learning and problem solving. I have a little bit of a problem with this definition, because what it's saying is that machines are trying to copy humans. here's the problem. I don't want the machine to copy me. I want the machine to be better than me. And so really, I think that AI has to be faster, it has to handle more data, and it has to be more reliable than me. Otherwise, why would I need it? Right. So this is really how we look at AI, within our company and how we develop solutions. And specifically, when we look at digital advertising, the most common type of AI that's used is machine learning. So what is machine learning? It's a type of AI that analyzes data, makes prediction from this analysis, and improves from experience and more data over time. Right. So this is really at my company, we really use machine learning as the type of AI solutions that we develop. So let's quickly go through a very simple model of machine learning. If machine learning is a circle in the middle, what we want to do is ask machine learning a question. Machine learning then ingests a lot of data, and then based on this data, it tries to predict the answer to the question to the best possible accuracy of the answer. So to give you an example, this is something that we've been doing for many years at our company. We asked the question, will this advertising impression, or will the impression of this ad on this publisher and this user be viewable? Right? So when the page loads, we have to decide, is this now going to be viewable? And the reason why is because the advertising format we work with is an outstream advertising format. So it requires the user to not just load the page, but they have to scroll. And when they scroll, then the ad appears. So we have to decide, are they going to scroll? And is it going to be in view? And to answer that question, we use a lot of data. So we use what's called Supervised AI, which means we tell the AI what to look at. And what we tell them to look at are different types of data, which is the user data, publisher data, advertiser data, and contextual data. And the machine then takes in all this data, and then it makes a prediction, right? And then it then looks at the results of the prediction to see how accurate it is, and it learns over time, and it gets better and better with that prediction. So if you look at the data we use, the user data you're very familiar with. Publisher data, is the type of articles or the type of publication that the user is browsing. Ad features would be, for example, what brand is it? Is it a travel brand? What type of ad? And what type of creative? And contextual features would be, what device, what browser, et cetera, et cetera. So if you then cross all of that data together, there's over 50 million variables, 50 million possibilities. And so what we have to figure out is, of those 50 million possibilities, which ones will lead to a viewable ad, right? So what we do is a three-step simple process. We gather a lot of different examples, right, of the different variations, so the 50 million variations that has occurred in the past. We find which combinations are the best to predict viewability. So is it that it's on a Safari browser, on a mobile device, on Time Magazine, and is the advertiser a technology advertiser? If that's the case, yes, it's very likely going to lead to a video completion or a video in view, right? And so we find that combination, and then we develop models out of that presentation to predict future outcomes. So it's a fairly simple process, but it does require, quite a lot of data ingestions and algorithms to make this happen and to learn over time. And that's one example, and in that example, it really falls into us predicting an outcome, right? But we use machine learning actually in three different areas: for creative, for targeting, and for outcomes. If you think about the goal of advertising, it's really to get a consumer to buy something. So you want to know what creative is going to get them to buy, well, how to reach users that are most likely to buy through targeting, and which impression that's being served is most likely to lead to a viewable outcome, right? And so I want to talk about targeting, because what we do with AI and targeting is that we look at the ability to create lookalike models, the ability to, if you have a target segment, it may not have very high reach, so we try to extend that reach by creating lookalike modeling. And the way we do that is we actually look at the browsing history of all the users that have landed on our publishers' pages. And we don't just look at the URL of all the pages that they've landed on, but we actually read the article. So we know exactly what the article is about, and that way we have a very good idea of exactly every page that they have been reading for many, many days and a few months, right? So the life of a cookie, which is 30 to 60 to 90 days. And when you have a good idea of the browsing history, what we then do is we group all of the users we see into 300 groups, 300 clusters. Each cluster has some similarities, and the AI actually determines who goes into each of the 300 clusters, and we don't tell the AI what to look for. We just tell them, find similarities and create it 300 groups. And then what we do is we look in each of the 300 groups to try to find which one we have some, actually some data on that user. Let's say we have a first-party data or third-party data. And let's say that out of the 300, let's say that in one cluster there are 10,000 people, and 500 of them I have some data on, and I know that it's my target audience. So because all of the people in a cluster are similar to these few hundred people, we can then target all 10,000 people because we know that they're all similar. So that's really what we do in terms of lookalike modeling. So I want to finish up by giving you an example, because in the end, we talk a lot about AI. I explain to you how it works, but your ultimate question to me is, does it work? So let me give you a very detailed example. This is an online travel retailer and that we work with. What they're looking for is they want to serve an ad to a user. They want the user to click on it. They want the user to then arrive at their homepage. And then they want the user to type in a travel search, like to search for a hotel or a flight or a car rental, right? So the ultimate goal here is generate a travel search. And what they are going to measure, what they measured us on was what is the cost per incremental travel search, so CPIS. And I want to also define what incremental means. So the definition of incrementality here is a good way to measure incrementality. They want to know how many searches we generate that is in addition to what they would have already gotten anyway if we didn't run an ad, right? Because other people could be running ad. Some people could have just found the homepage up by themselves and do a search. So we're not going to get credit for every search we drive. Only those that definitely came from our ad that is incremental or in addition to what they already have, right? So to do this, we have to predict. When we see someone land on one of our publishers' pages, we have to predict, okay, do I buy that impression? Is that person going to click, go to the landing page, and then do a search? And also, is that person going to be incremental, right? Would they have done it anyway? So that's a lot of things that we have to try to predict. And so so what we do is we use predictive advertising to make the prediction. We also use lookalike modeling to look at people that have actually searched before, and we try to find similar people that search, and then we target them as well. So we use two different types of AI here in the example. And to give you a little bit more detail of all the different areas of AI we use, imagine that 100 pages on the publishers, on our publishers' pages load up, and there's a 100 opportunity for us to serve an ad. We use AI in fraud filtering to take out 2 of the pages because we think it might be fraud. We use AI for brand safety, and we take out 3 more pages because we think it may not be brand safe. Then we use AI to predict whether the user is going to scroll and the ad will be in view. And so you can see here that the number of pages from 100 starts to reduce because we're using AI to remove things that we think are not going to happen. So 51 pages will actually serve an ad. And then we try to predict, well, who's going to click on this ad, right? So the click-through rate is 0.5%. So you get 0.26 pages left of people that click. Then we have to predict, well, those who click, how many of them will actually arrive at the landing page, because 50% of people don't arrive at the landing page because there's accidental clicks or the bandwidth is low, all that. So we try to predict that. Then we have to predict whether or not the user is going to search, to do a travel search, right? And so you can see here that we're using AI in 5 to 6 different places for just one ad impression. Throughout this process. So the final result, we ran this in 4 countries. They measured the costs per incremental search as the metric. And you can see here that at the beginning of the campaign, we couldn't meet right away their benchmark, which is the dotted line here. But then as the days progress, the machine learning is getting better and better and better at predicting. And then the cost per incremental search starts dropping. And then it goes below their benchmark, and it goes way below their benchmark. So this is a very happy client because it shows that the AI is working. Then the final thing is they also said, well, I don't know if your lookalike modeling works. So I want to test your lookalike modeling against my third-party data segments. So we split the campaign so that we ran some of the campaign with third-party data and some of the campaign with lookalike modeling. And then we compare the results. And as you can see here, this is the cost per incremental search comparison on the several different countries that we ran the campaign in, where blue is the third-party data, and the green is the Teads lookalike modeling results. And as you can see, the lookalike modeling was 2 times more cost-effective than the third-party segments that the clients were using. So that proves that the lookalike modeling actually works. So as you can see, that's an example with very detailed description and results of AI. And I think that's really, people talk about AI, ask for it, get the details. So to finish, I think that with AI, the future of advertising is actually knowing the consumer better than they know themselves. And I found this letter, it's a love letter written by a woman. And you have to ask yourself, is she writing this letter to a person or a machine? Right? I love you because you know exactly what to play on Netflix when I complain there's nothing good to watch. I love you because you know exactly what song to choose in the car when we are on a long drive. I love you because you actually pay attention to me, because you can point out the little habits that I have that I've never even noticed myself, because you know me better than I know myself. Now, in my opinion, if you are a brand that's selling to a consumer, I think you should aspire to get them to write you this love letter. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Some questions.
Questions.
Don't go, please. So you don't think that the consumer can be afraid and say, you know me better than I myself, so that's too much. I don't know that you know so much about me. You don't think that this can happen or is happening now? Digo que puede pasar eso, ¿no? Que la gente diga, oye, tú sabes ya demasiado de mí y esto a mí no me mola. Yo no quiero que sepas tanto de mí. De hecho, tenemos ejemplos donde hay tiendas que sabían más del consumidor, que estaba ya embarazada la hija de el famoso ejemplo del embarazo de la tienda de Walmart. No, you know the Walmart example where the girl who was, ¿cómo se dice embarazo? Pregnant, who was pregnant, and the shop knows before because of the things she are buying. So what do you think about this? This is a social problem, no? We can have.
Yeah, I think with anything else in digital advertising, and certainly for AI, I mean, there has to be responsible use, right? And responsible use here means to respect privacy, right? So in no situation should an AI be able to identify, disclose personally identifiable information, and in any way share that outside. Right? So I think that's one thing. And then there's also, I think AI can only take you so far, but human intervention has to happen to make reasonable decisions. Like, should I tell someone if they're pregnant before they know it? I mean, that's a responsibility. For if you're an advertiser or a brand, that's your responsibility. And that's true for anything we do in digital advertising. I mean, this is a tool, but it's not a tool that can take responsibility yet. And it is up to us to still take the responsibility.
But we are humans, and the humans not always are very responsible, ¿no? Y tampoco tenemos siempre sentido común. That's the problem, pero bueno.
Yes. But should we blame the human or the machine? Yes. I think we blame the human beings.
Yes, also. Venga, preguntas facilillas o no facilillas. En English o en catalán o en Spanish, lo que queráis. ¿Quién quiere preguntar? Es que no veo bien. ¿Tenéis que ayudarme vosotras? Desde arriba o ponerse alguien arriba porque yo no veo, o tiene que gritar o pitar. Nobody wants to ask? I don't see. Bueno, okay. So I thank you very much for coming here. Next week you will be Teads will be in Cannes Lions.
In Cannes, yes.
Something you can tell us? ¿Nos puede decir lo que vais a presentar ahí en Cannes Lions? We will see some new, because you are very always in the news.
Yes.
Something you can tell us here, it's possible? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Cannes is, for us, Cannes is the biggest event of the year, and we make our biggest investment at Cannes. So we will have many people at Cannes. We have a boat at Cannes. We're also running, and you're welcome on the boat.
Estáis invitados al yate, todos al yate de Teads, todos invitados a tomar copas ahí. Sí, vamos, se me invitan, que van a lo grande. Teads goes like the big, you are a very big player, no? A big player in
Yes.
Cannes.
And we're also going to be running workshops. We're a French company, so the workshops are called L'Atelier, which is creative workshops, which actually, some of these workshops, you would actually come into the workshop, spend a few hours with us, and we would actually work with you in those couple of hours to produce a creative, which you're going to use in a campaign. So that's the idea behind some of these workshops that we do. Yeah.
Nice idea. Sí. So we'll see you next week in Cannes.
Great.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
being here. Thank you very much. Gracias.